Ready?
Yes.
I'll call the January 6, 2020 meeting of Oakwood City Council to order and ask you all to rise and join me in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So for those of you who regularly watch Oakwood City Council meetings, you're probably wondering why the city manager is presiding. And I'm happy to tell you that my role here in presiding is very, very short. And I'll explain here in a moment why I'm doing it. So I'll start and tell you that in Ohio, you can run a municipality according to the Ohio Revised Code, or in other words, the laws of the state of Ohio, or a community can elect to, in effect, self-govern, and to do that, the community must pass a city charter. And we have such a charter that was passed in Oakwood in 1960, and it's actually a fairly short read for those who are interested in reading our city charter, and you can find it on our website. It's 24 pages. And essentially, it lays out the manner in which the city of Oakwood, or said better, the citizens of Oakwood, would like their local government to function or to operate. And amongst a number of other provisions in the charter is the stipulation that we will, as a community, elect 5 council members. There are some communities in the area, Kettering, for instance, that has a charter where they elect 7 council members. But here in Oakwood, we decided that 5 would be sufficient. The charter also stipulates that the terms of the 5 council members alternate. And so here in Oakwood, there's a 4-year term in office, and 2 of the council members share the same 4-year term, and then the other 3, the other 4-year term, and there's a 2-year overlap. So every odd number November, or I should say every other odd number November, the citizens of Oakwood can elect new council members, again, either 2 or 3, depending on the cycle. The charter also says then that after such an election, every 2 years, in the first Monday of that next month after the election, why the council will hold an organization meeting for 2 primary purposes. One, for the newly elected or re-elected council members to be sworn in, and secondly, for the council to elect from amongst themselves who would serve as mayor and who would serve as vice mayor. So again, unlike Kettering, where the mayor is elected directly from the citizens, here in Oakwood, our charter stipulates that the citizens of Oakwood elect the 5 council members, and then the 5 sitting council members choose from amongst themselves by a simple majority vote who they would like to have serve as mayor and as vice mayor. So, because it's the first Monday in January of an even-numbered year after an election, at this very moment, we do not have a mayor and a vice mayor, and so the first thing we need to do is put those 2 positions in place here. But before we do that, we have to swear in the elected council members, and this past November, we had 3 council members, Bill Duncan, Steve Byington, and Chris Epley on the ballot. They ran unopposed, so naturally they all 3 were elected, and even though they've been sworn in previously, our charter requires that they be sworn in again. So with that brief introduction, I'll ask our law director to swear in our 3 re-elected council members. Yeah.
Okay. If each of you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the State of Ohio, and will obey the laws thereof, and that I will, in all respects, uphold and enforce the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of this city, and will faithfully discharge the duties of City Council member upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
Now that we have 5 council members, I will ask
Roll call.
for a nomination.
Let's do a roll call first, and then we can do it now. Let's do the roll call to make sure that we're all here.
Lori, will you please do a roll call to confirm that all 5 council members are present?
Mr. Duncan.
Here.
Mr. Byington.
Here.
Mr. Stevens.
Here.
Mrs. Hilton. Here. Mr. Epley.
Here.
You can tell I don't do this often, and that's a good thing. Now I would ask for a motion or nomination for mayor and vice mayor.
I nominate William Duncan as mayor and Stephen Byington as vice mayor.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Lori, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Duncan.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington.
Yes.
Mr. Stevens.
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton.
Yes.
Mr. Epley.
Yes.
There ends my official capacity here in conducting this meeting. Mayor, please.
Thank you
take
very
the floor.
much.
The floor is yours.
I have an hour and a half inauguration speech, but I will dispense with that. Again, thank you for your service, and we will hear back from you later on in the meeting. We do have minutes of our November 9 regular session, work session, and executive session. Councilmember Hilton, do you have a report?
Yes, Your Honor, I have a report. I've reviewed all of those minutes, and I found them to be correct and complete. Did you say November 9th?
I did say November,
And I
and I
reviewed those
meant
as well,
December.
and,
Yes.
and they are correct and complete, and I move that they be adopted as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, so ordered. Under status reports, we're excited that we have a new Director of Engineering and Public Works, and we're going to give him the oath of office. And his name is Doug Spittler. And with Doug is your family is here. I believe your wife Wendy is here. Wendy? I'm sorry, Cindy. I'm having trouble tonight here. Cindy, where are you? She's over there in the corner. Cindy is a teacher at Valley View Schools, and her daughter Sarah is a 7th grader, and that's Sarah over there at Tower Heights Middle School in Centerville. I guess you also have a son who's a senior at Centerville, but he's unable to attend because he has a winter percussion practice this evening. So if you would like to come down, I will administer the oath of office to you, and then our city manager, Norbert Klopsch, will have some comments about you. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of the State of Ohio, and that I will obey the laws thereof, and that I will, in all respects, uphold and enforce the provisions of the Charter and ordinances of this city, and will faithfully discharge the duties of Director of Engineering and Public Works, upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations.
I'm going to use the podium.
Okay.
You stay up here. Yeah. I am very excited and pleased to introduce Doug to you this evening. As you know, I've kind of held down the fort there at Engineering Public Works for a bit of time, and I'm very, very happy to have Doug join us here. He is not only a Midwesterner, but he's an Ohioan, born and raised in Eaton, and excelled in high school, of course, and then immediately went to the Ohio State University and completed the four-year program to earn the degree of Bachelor of Civil Engineering, which means he took several different calculus classes, differential equations, fluid mechanics, mechanics of materials, thermodynamics, structures, concrete, steel. Stop me when you want me to.
Stop.
And I can tell you that having done that years earlier than Doug myself, it's a rigorous program. I didn't go to OSU, but he completed that program, earned the Ohio Professional Engineering License, which also is no easy task. You sit for 2 8-hour exams, quite a rigorous examination program, but that then prepares you to practice civil engineering or professional engineering in the state of Ohio. And so Doug's career started in the city of Dayton, where he worked from 1996 to 1999, and then from 1999 to 2004 back in the city of Eaton, and then from January of 2005 until just recently at the city of Centerville. So Doug comes here very, very prepared to be our Director of Engineering and Public Works. He's essentially done everything that's required of the position here, done it for 23 years and excelled everywhere he's gone. Unbeknownst to me, several of our Public Works Department employees already knew Doug, and so he really enters the department down there with a leg up in terms of getting to know the folks there. Comes from a wonderful community, obviously a city of Centerville that I think compares very directly with the city of Oakwood in terms of what citizens expect, the public services that are delivered and that sort of thing. There aren't that many communities anymore that provide their own in-house refuse collection services, but Oakwood is one, of course, and Centerville is one. So that's a skill that Doug brings here as well, operating that Centerville system for quite a number of years. Done all the roadway, sanitary sewer, stormwater, water sort of projects that come up here regularly. And so I'm just very excited to have him on board, and I know that he'll be an excellent addition to our senior leadership team here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do you want to say a word or two?
What else I can say? I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. It's a blessing to be here. I'm very honored to be here and look forward to working with all of you, your residents, and the staff. Thank you very much.
Well, welcome, Doug.
Yeah, welcome.
Again, as part of our organization meeting, the city council has some council committee assignments where we'll have a couple members of council serve on some subcommittees, and there's about a half a dozen or more of those. We are proposing, since there's been no change in city council and the elected leaders, we propose no change in our council committee assignments. So I would make a motion that we approve our council committee assignments and ask for a second.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, so ordered. And then we also have some committee needs, and these are committees that council has created, which we have citizen volunteers, and we have probably over 100 different citizen volunteers that serve on various committees. We don't have all of the positions filled, but the ones that we're bringing here tonight, we have one opening on our planning commission, and we've asked Healy Jackson to serve an additional 4-year term. Our Board of Zoning Appeals, we had one opening, and we've asked Dan Dietz to serve an additional 5-year term. And then on our Budget Review Committee, that's our 35-member citizen review committee that consists of 5 members from each of our 7 voting precincts. David Dickerson has agreed to serve again. William Meyer, Steve Brooks, John Gray, and Beth Ritzert have agreed to serve again. And we will have some additional nominations at our February meeting, and I would make a motion that these folks be appointed again. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, so ordered. We now have some interesting things to report to the public regarding our outstanding public safety department. At this point, I'd ask Chief Alan Hill to come down and talk about several awards that he plans to issue tonight. Welcome, Chief Hill.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council. Each year at the end of the calendar year, TCSU, Tactical Crime Suppression Unit, I guess I should back up. Within the Miami Valley Communication Council and the 8-member cities in 1991, a law enforcement component called the Tactical Crime Suppression Unit was formed. Since that date and time, the group consists of members of all 8 member cities, and they share investigative law enforcement resources. There's an investigation component, there's an accident investigation teams, evidence technicians, and so on. And we currently have somebody assigned to the unit full-time, but we also have people that work on large-scale investigations throughout the year. And then at the end of the year, as part of the annual training and banquet, you submit nominations for various things, and then they're selected for investigators awards and whatnot. And this year, I'm very pleased. I'm going to acknowledge 2 people that last month, on December 13th, were recognized for their work on some outstanding cases that they were involved in. And the first one is Lieutenant Chuck Balaj. Lieutenant Balaj, up until December 31st of this year, for the last 4 years, has served as a part-time Joint Terrorism Task Force agent with the FBI Task Force. And through his assignment with the JTTF, he's been involved in some significant cases locally, but their ties go beyond the borders of our country. And in this past year, on June 13th, 2019, an individual by the name of Laith Alabini was sentenced to 180 months in federal prison and 25 years of supervised release for attempting to conspire, to join and conspire to join ISIS. This was a pretty significant investigation that came on the radar by the individual Laith causing a disturbance at the Turkish embassy in Washington, D.C. Shortly after that, he relocated to the Dayton area, and that's how Lieutenant Balaj became involved. Chuck was one of 4 primary investigators that was assigned to this case. And a long story short, Alabini was ultimately arrested on August 26, 2017 at the Cincinnati, Kentucky International Airport as he was attempting to board a flight to Jordan. From there, Alabini made plans to travel to Syria to join ISIS. Alabini was committed to traveling overseas for the purpose of joining ISIS and engaging in violence in support of a foreign terrorist organization. Alabini was found guilty at trial and subsequently was convicted of attempting to provide material support to a terrorist organization. Task Force Officer Lieutenant Chuck Balaj and several members of the JTTF have been recognized both by the FBI Director, the United States Attorney's Office, and locally here. His dedication and hard work for literally the hundreds of hours that was spent on this investigation is to be commended, and there is no doubt that the greater Dayton area, the United States, and the world is a safer place today because of Lieutenant Balaj's commitment to bringing Laith Alabini to justice. So with that, we just want to formally recognize him for an outstanding job on this case. And on December 13th, 2019, he received the TCSU Investigator Award in appreciation for his outstanding work on this case. So congratulations, Charles. As I mentioned before, we have somebody currently assigned to the task force who kind of works in an undercover capacity, in case you didn't notice by the appearance. And Jeff has been assigned there since May of 2019. About every 10 years, the way the investigative component works, some agencies have officers assigned full-time annually. It's a continuing ongoing basis. Then you have other agencies that rotate through the assignment to balance out personnel. Oakwood's turn comes up about every 10 years. From 2009 to 2011, we had now retired Detective Tom Klingon assigned, and Jeff has most recently taken over that assignment in 2019, and he will be there until mid-2021. It's a 2-year rotation. Each year, if you want to say the most significant award that's given out is the TCSU Investigator of the Year Award, and I'm very proud to recognize Detective Yount for receiving that this year. You know, as I mentioned, he had only been assigned there since May 1st, so in 8 months, he's shown the hard work, the dedication, and the commitment by the end of the year to be selected as the TCSU Investigator of the Year. You know, and I got some bullet points here that I got from the TCSU commander who oversees Jeff's unit. And he basically described Jeff very quickly. He's the go-to guy when other detectives need assistance. He will drop and do whatever he can do to help out. We already know this about Jeff from his time in the investigative section here. Jeff is a tireless worker. He will go, the clock doesn't matter. He will do everything he can to solve that crime and hold the person responsible for it. And he's shown it time and time again with us. And he's quickly shown others that he's willing to do that in the TCSU investigative unit. As I mentioned, his work ethic is above and beyond. He is currently working on 2 major cases that he's involved with, and he's doing a great job. They're not concluded yet, but I'm sure they will be here in the near future. While doing all of this at TCSU, Jeff still does a lot for the city of Oakwood. He's involved in all our background investigations for our new hires. He's involved in caseload management here within the city of Oakwood when our current full-time detective needs help. Anytime our current full-time detective is off and we have a need, Jeff has to balance his work assignments with both TCSU, but yet he comes back and continues to help us out. You know, and Jeff's willingness to help out goes above and beyond just the investigative level. There was a long-term absence for the administrative personnel over who runs the TCSU office. You could call her the clerk typist, the secretary, a lot of just the day-to-day administrative work. And in her absence, Jeff took over managing the property room over there. He took over handling all the polygraph assignments. He was the evidence custodian, really just did anything and everything that needed to be done to make sure that operation continues to roll. So with that being said, On December 13th, 2019, Detective Yount received the TCSU Agent of the Year Award, and the inscription on the award states, "Your selfless dedication and tireless efforts have exemplified TCSU's mission to provide quality investigative services to the communities we serve. We honor your dedication, service as Agent of the Year, and for inspiring others within the Tactical Crime Suppression Unit." So congratulations, Jeff. Jeff. Probably the proudest guy in the room right now is Lieutenant Yount Sr., Jeff's dad. You know, and I wanted to bring Jeff up to, Jeff is going to be retiring first quarter of this year, and his actual last working day is January 27th, so it's rapidly approaching us. And he's leaving us after 30 years of service. I've said this a couple of times publicly, that 30 years for us on the safety department side is a pretty big number. Most of our hires come in as lateral entry. You know, we've talked about our average new hire having about 6.5 years of service on. A lot of them, a lot of new hires have up to 10, 12, 15 years on, so it's hard to accumulate the time of service to our community through a lateral hire program. But, you know, Jeff has been here since 1989. He actually started his career in 1985 with the Mad River Township Police Department, Riverside, where he served as an officer, a detective, and a field training officer. In October of '89, that's when Jeff was hired by the Oakwood Public Safety Department. Since his time of being hired by Oakwood, he's really worked in all facets of the Public Safety Department. You know, Jeff spent a considerable amount of time in the detective section. He bounced back and forth between being a full-time investigator here and actually serving in the same spot that Detective Yount Jr. now serves in as well. He was assigned to the Organized Crime Task Force. Probably the most significant time in his career or case, because there's many. When you're involved in these assignments and you hear like what I talked about with Lieutenant Balazs, you get opportunities to be involved in really career cases. And in 2003, Lieutenant Yount was assigned to the Cold Case Homicide Task Force. And at that time, there was a pretty significant case out of Springboro, and actually involving a lieutenant of the police department. His name was Jim Barton, and he was ultimately convicted for the death of his wife that occurred in 1995. In 2005, he was convicted of that crime 10 years later. In the 2 years preceding to that conviction, Lieutenant Yount was one of the people behind the scenes that was involved day to day on putting that cold case together 10 years later to ultimately hold the individual responsible for that crime. So I think anytime you're involved in that, something like that, it's a career case and it deserves to be acknowledged. In 2005, it's kind of when Jeff returned to Oakwood permanently, where he rotated back on a crew, served as a crew commanding officer and also as a crew detective, and then ultimately in 2007, he was promoted to the rank of lieutenant, where he has been the crew supervisor on Crew 3 since that time for the last almost 13 years. You know, I said at the time I was appointed to chief in November of 17 that since 1955, the safety department has only had 7 directors of public safety, including myself. Jeff has actually worked for 5 of them. Wow. So that tells you, you know, we're spanning 4 decades. The institutional knowledge that's going to walk out the door, when he retires, will be sorely missed. We appreciate all your efforts, your dedication, your commitment to the community. 30 years in our line of work is to be commended, and we wish you nothing but the best as life goes forward. Congratulations. Thank you. So by the time Jeff Jr. retires, we'll have a Yount on staff for 50-plus years here in the city of Oakwood. Kind of transitioning, I just have one more thing that I would like to comment on. We had we call it a pretty significant incident that had a positive outcome on December 11th at the high school, or actually at the junior high. Early in the morning hours on that day, a student there received a text message from another teenager about 3 hours away in Ohio, and he indicated in the text message that he was going to harm himself, that he was actually making plans to kill himself that day. This was immediately brought to the attention of the safety department, and Captain Jones, who's here tonight, and Detective Bollinger were presented the information, and they immediately went to work. They went to work using the investigative resources that they had available to them with limited information they had, and lo and behold, in the matter of an hour, they actually identified the individual who's about 3 hours away. They made contact with that sheriff's office, and they spoke to the school resource officer. And they said, do you have a student by the name of da-da-da-da-da? And they said, yes. So they checked attendance records, and he actually showed up for school that day for homeroom and first period, and then left. And he was unaccounted for. At that time, you know, obviously they went on the prowl looking for him, and they ultimately located him. And upon being located, he admitted to the deputies that he was looking for a way to kill himself that day. I bring this up for two reasons. And the first reason is I want to acknowledge Captain Jones, and I want to acknowledge Detective Bollinger for their work that day. I've said this over and over again. There's no greater impact you can have on somebody's life than saving it. And that day, 2 people 3 hours away from them doing their job saved probably that kid's life. And I told Mike, when you go home, sleep good tonight because you saved somebody's life. And they could have taken that information and gave it the once-over. They could attempt to look for it and didn't find anything, but they were persistent in their efforts and what they did. And hopefully the kid up north had a little bit of, or had a good Christmas and a good New Year, and he's getting the help he needs to move forward. So with that, Mike, we commend you for your efforts. The second thing why I wanted to bring this up is suicide is an extremely sad but necessary topic that merits discussion. Unfortunately, our own community has been impacted by such tragedy in recent years. According to the CDC, suicide is one of the 5 leading causes of death among teenagers, accounting for about 11% of the total deaths. Each year, the city of Oakwood hosts the Out of the Darkness Walk. Many of you are familiar with it at the high school stadium that raises money and awareness for suicide prevention. The money raised helps support the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention goal of reducing the annual suicide rate 20% by 2025. This will be accomplished through research, public education, and being an advocate for public policy. So just like that individual did, where they sent a text because they were having a bad day and he knew he needed help, we can all help prevent suicide. And if you or someone you know needs help, this is for everybody watching at home, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. It's free, it's confidential, and it saves lives every single day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Chief, I know that one of the things you normally say when you talk to us just about crime in Oakwood is if you see something, say something. And this student at Oakwood Junior High he heard something and he said something, and he reported it to his teacher, who reported it to the principal, who reported it to Captain Hill. And so there were a lot of people involved in saving this young man's life up in Northeast Ohio. And when I think about this, and Lieutenant Yount and Officer Detective Yount and Lieutenant Balaj, and I think about everything that's been going on here the last several months, this is the Oakwood Public Safety Department that I know. And I think everybody in this community, when you see one of our Oakwood Public Safety officers, you need to thank them, because every day they are protecting you and they are saving lives. One other report, Christmas Eve, we arrested someone speeding on Far Hills. Turns out had a felony warrant for underage rape of an underage child. He is now in the county jail awaiting trial. So it's not an Oakwood resident, but by us enforcing traffic laws in Oakwood, we are taking criminals off the street. So you should be thankful for your public safety department. So anybody else have anything to say? Okay.
Your Honor, could I mention?
Yes, you may. Absolutely. Absolutely.
One thing the chief did not mention is that shortly after the authorities up north found this child, he texted his friend here and said thank you for telling somebody.
Yeah.
So just wanted to share that.
Okay.
Your Honor, I also have one other item I'd like to add to the status reports. In the Miami Valley, there are a lot of fantastic organizations that are dedicated to regional cooperation. And one of the premier organizations is the Greater Dayton Mayors and Managers Association. This is a group that consists of 30 cities and villages in and around the Greater Dayton region, and it has numerous other governmental officials that participated, as well as regional leaders throughout the Miami Valley. In total, there are about 80 members, and each 2-year cycle, they select a president for that organization. It is a real honor to be selected amongst the peers, because as you can imagine, it's a who's who of leadership throughout the region. Our own Mayor Duncan just finished his term, 2 years. We've also had 2 other mayors, Judy Cook and Jeff Ireland, who have served that position. As I mentioned, it is a great honor, and I commend Mayor Duncan for your service to this area and representing Oakwood in an exemplary fashion.
Why, thank you.
Congratulations, sir.
Why, thank you. All right. Okay, let's do some fun things next. We have our holiday decorating awards, and Nancy and Jane, you're down here to help us. Is that correct? Come on down. So are they up here, Carol? Or are you going to do the video first, or are we going to do the awards first? I'll do the awards first. Okay, great. I'll be right down. Us on our beautification committee, and we appreciate your service. Are they in a particular order? The same order as I have? Okay. We have both daytime winners and nighttime winners, and the first daytime winner is 118 Lookout Drive, and it is Lisa Becker and Mark Levy. Are they here this evening? All right. If not, we will make sure that they receive their award. Area 2 is 140 East Dix. I'm sorry, we're doing nighttime. I'm sorry. Okay, we're going up and back. Okay. 430 Acorn Drive, Emily and Kendall Thompson. We will get the award to them. Area 2, 140 East Dixon, and that is Joanne and David Cronin. Is there a ball game on tonight or something? Okay. All right. And then the nighttime winner, 100 Patterson Road, the Webker family. And he is here. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Oh, wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
100 Patterson.
And Area 3, 11 Greenmont Boulevard, Barbie and Robert Bertkey. and they are here. Congratulations. Give these folks a hand here. Congratulations. Thank you so much. You're quite welcome. Thank you. And 1502 East Shantz, Cassandra and Michael Rice, and they are here. Congratulations. Make sure that gets on Facebook, right? All right, Area 4, 249 Clarana, Diane, and Joseph Scott. Are they here? We will make sure that they receive their award. And 2418 Delane Avenue, Leslie and Andrew Norton. It's not your house, okay? Oh, I'm sorry. Well, congratulations. Congratulations.
Good work.
Yes, okay, okay. Very good. All right.
Huh.
So we to Area 5? Yes. 2529 Hillview Avenue, Carrie and Mark Hopkins. Congratulations. And 2623 Roanoke Avenue, Darren Schwederman. Darren is here. Congratulations. And Area 6, 1312 Devereaux, Carla and Andrew Fidden. We will make sure that they receive their award. And Area 6 in the evening, 300 Southview, Jane Maney. Is Jane here? Do not see her. We'll make sure she receives her award. And then we also have two business awards. The morning or the daytime award, Morning Sun, 2411 Far Hills Avenue, Darla Heiser. We will make sure that she gets that award. And then our evening award, or a nighttime award, is Talbot's, 2524 Far Hills Avenue. And there's no one from Talbot's here. Maybe that's where everybody is. They're all shopping at Talbot's. Okay. All right. Well, thank all of you for that. We really appreciate it. We appreciate your efforts in picking the award winners. Okay. Thanks. And we also have two other special visitors this evening. William Boylan is here. He is an Eagle Scout, and he is going to come down and address council and describe his Eagle Scout project, which was the Little Free Library. Welcome, William. If you'd like to address council.
Yep.
Hi, I'm William Boylan. I'm a Boy Scout at part of Troop 193. I've been working on my Eagle Scout rank for a while now, and part of that is an Eagle Scout project, which is basically a project that benefits the community in some way. And I was thinking a while back about what I could do for this project that would help the community in some way, and I thought, as a kid, I spent a lot of time at the Wright Memorial Library, so I could call them and ask if they had any projects that I could do for them. And when I called, they gave me an idea that they had been tossing around for a while. It's the Little Free Library, which we now call the Little Wright Library. A Little Free Library is basically a free book exchange that's in like a park or some public area like that, where you can just take a book, leave a book for someone else to read in the park, or if you just want to enjoy a book while you're in the park. So I went ahead and made this project because I thought it sounded like a great idea. and now it's in Orchardly Park. It's by the tennis courts if you want to go check it out. I think this project's had a great positive impact on both the community and myself. From the scout side of things, the scouts like the person planning it to get a good amount of leadership skills and project planning skills out of it, which I definitely think I've gotten from it. And then also the community's had a positive impact from it. Before I finished building it, actually, I was waiting for the paint to dry so I could finish up. A few kids walked by and exclaimed, "Wow, is that a little free library?" And I thought that was hilarious.
They knew what it was.
Yeah. And then also a few other kids came up and asked about it while I was building it. So that was cool and really showed that it actually has had already a positive impact on the community. And I'm sure many other people have already visited it by this point too. So also a few people that I'd like to thank that really helped me through the process, and I couldn't have done it without. Brian Caldwell, he was the main person I was talking to at the city. He helped me through a lot of things, gave me a lot of ideas and tips on things. Christy Hale, she was the person I worked with at the library. Carol Collins showed up at my project the last day to check it out. And then also a few just random adults that I knew around Oakwood that helped out. Hans Amon, he helped me with the construction side of it. And then also Brent Beck, he's an excellent artist, and he did the artwork for the sign that went on the front of it. So I really couldn't have done it without those people. And then also, I really hope that it keeps being a positive impact on the community. Thank you for letting me do the project.
Thank you.
William, do you mind if I ask you, so the
Yes.
books, will the library be putting some in there on
Yes.
occasion?
The library has a organization that they're working with to keep it stocked, yes.
Okay, how many books are in there approximately?
We put
Average.
like 15 in on the day that we put the books in. I'm
15?
not totally sure
okay.
right now.
So it's good size. I'm sorry, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's pretty good size, so it can hold up to at least 15 books.
I don't remember exact dimensions at this point, but
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty big.
And year round?
Yeah, it's up there year round.
But I mean, the weather won't get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. Sounds like a very nice project. Well done.
Thank you.
You're a student at Oakwood?
Yes,
Okay,
I'm a sophomore.
You're a sophomore, okay.
Great.
Well, congratulations on this project, and we appreciate all your efforts on behalf of our community.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, William.
Excellent.
And we have another Eagle Scout that's here to talk about his project, Charles Jacks. And Charles had to leave his scout uniform at home because he took a sabbatical from working at Dorothy Lane Market this evening. Is that correct? And they let you check out, and you're going to go back and check in afterwards. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Charles, welcome. Tell us about your Eagle Scout project.
So for my Eagle project, I decided to build dog agility equipment for the Oakwood Dog Park because I've noticed I've brought my dog down there plenty of times, and I've always noticed there was only the small little hurdle thing. So I decided it'd be a good idea to build some other equipment there for my dog and other dogs in the community to play on. And it is a very good learning thing for me, I think, because I learned that projects take a long time to do. And we ended up being in the middle of January outside my garage painting and trying to get it to dry when it would not dry. So that was a challenge. But overall, I thought they turned out really well. And I can tell that the community uses it a lot just from paw prints and everything on it. So that's nice to see. But I also want to thank the city for letting me do the project there, and thank Carol Collins and Brian Caldwell and everyone for helping me out, as well as my father.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Very good.
They're also, the dog agility equipment is all up to code with the National Dog Agility Association.
So there is a code for dog equipment, fitness equipment.
People
Okay.
use to train
There's a code for
things.
everything.
There's a code for everything. Okay. Well, that's great. Well, congratulations. Now, are you also a student at Oakwood?
I've graduated.
You've graduated. Okay. Very good. All right. Well, congratulations on your project. We appreciate your
Yeah,
efforts on
definitely.
behalf
Thank
of our
you.
city as well.
Well done.
Okay.
And on
We are still in the visitors portion of our meeting. If anyone else wishes to address council at this time, this would be the time that you could come down to the podium and state your name and address for the record, and we would welcome you. Anybody wish to address council? All right, well then, we will then close the visitor section and go to legislation, and Mr. Epley has an ordinance.
Thank you, Your Honor. An ordinance to amend Appendix A, Public Services Rate Sheet of the Oakwood Streets and Public Services Code to increase the stormwater fee. This is an ordinance to increase the rate of our stormwater utility services. It was introduced with a first reading at our December meeting. It will increase the monthly stormwater management fee from $7 to $10 per residential unit or equivalent residential unit, as recommended by the city manager to meet upcoming operational and capital needs. This fee increase was presented to the Citizen Budget Review Committee as part of the 2020 budget briefing on October 15, 2019, and their response was positive. Our stormwater rate has not been increased since January 2017. This ordinance will take effect upon adoption. Residents will first see this rate increase reflected in their January utility bills, which will be sent out at the end of the month. This is the second reading of this ordinance, and I move that council adopt it tonight.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion for Councilmember Epley? Hearing none, Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
And next, I believe Mr. Stevens has an ordinance.
Thank you, Mayor Duncan. An ordinance amending Chapter 163 Environmental Committee of the Oakwood Administrative Code to reflect that the name of the said committee has been changed to, quote, Beautification Committee, and to update the description of its activities. Last year, Council adopted legislation to change the name of the Environmental Committee to the Beautification Committee. This was a return to the original name for this committee, and Council felt that it better captured the focus and activities of this committee. The ordinance I am now introducing will update our codified ordinances to include that name change. It also updates the description of the committee's activities to acknowledge the committee's, quote, behind-the-scenes role in supporting our Department of Leisure Services. For residents who may not know, the Beautification Committee is a dedicated group of city volunteers who are involved in many of our annual programs, including the Johnny Appleseed program, Street Tree Program, Scarecrow Row, the Holiday of Lights, Holiday Decorating Awards, City Beautification Awards, Boulevard Paintings, horticultural seminars through the Oakwood Community Center, educational projects through the Oakwood Schools, the Smith Gardens Annual Perennial Sale, the city's Tree City USA designation, and many others over the years. I move that council waive the second reading of this ordinance and adopt it this evening.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none, Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
I believe finally Councilmember Stevens has another ordinance.
An ordinance amending sections 505.10 and 517.01, repealing existing Chapter 549 and enacting new Chapter 549, all of the General Offenses Code relating to the ownership, possession, purchase, other acquisition, transport, storage, carrying, sale, other transfer, manufacturer, taxation, keeping, and reporting of loss or theft of firearms, their components, and their ammunition, and declaring an emergency. House Bill 228 took effect on December 28, 2019, and requires municipalities to change their local firearm laws to ensure they do not impact those who engage in the lawful activities of hunting and self-defense. In order to comply with House Bill 228, Oakwood must amend or delete a number of its firearm-related laws, which is the purpose of this ordinance. Council views House Bill 28 as yet another assault on the home rule authority reserved to municipalities through the Ohio Constitution. We believe that Council is better positioned than the General Assembly to decide what laws make sense for Oakwood because we are directly accountable to our fellow residents. We are adopting this ordinance not because we want to, but because the state says we must. Home rule concerns aside, this ordinance should not be cause for alarm among our residents. Although we are being forced to change or eliminate some of our local firearm laws, state law continues to prohibit hunting in Oakwood, and self-defense is and has always been legal in Oakwood. Firearms will continue to be regulated in the city of Oakwood. They will just be regulated at the state rather than the local level. I am introducing this ordinance as an emergency measure to ensure it takes effect promptly as required by House Bill 228. I move that council adopt this ordinance as an emergency measure for the reasons I stated in the ordinance.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussions for Councilmember Stevens? Hearing none, Lori, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Duncan?
Yes?
Vice Mayor Byington?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mrs. Hilton?
Yes.
Mr. Epley?
Yes.
All right, thank you. We have no staff report this evening, and so it's now time for our city manager to talk about the rest of the things you wanted to talk about earlier this evening.
I've got just a few quick things, Your Honor. Just a reminder to our citizens that the leaf collection season is over. It ended last Friday, and what that basically means is that we no longer push leaves out into the street. And so as an exception to our standard rule that nothing may be put into the street or the public right-of-way during the 10-week period from roughly mid-October until the end of December, we allow that, and it's really for efficiency of collection, that sort of thing. But that period has now expired, so for folks that continue to do it, while our public works department or our code enforcement officer will leave a door hanger asking them to bring the material back off the street, and that's really for safety reasons and for stormwater flow reasons. We've all been enjoying this nicer, or I should say, this more mild winter, but I'm here to tell you this evening that our salt storage bin is fully stocked, and if and when bad winter weather comes, and frankly, I wouldn't mind if we just, surpassed all that this year. But if it does happen, we have all the materials we need, we have the equipment we need, we have the staff we need, and Doug will be overseeing that entire effort, which will be a good thing. And in terms of our policy and procedures for plowing, if our citizens would pull out their last Oakwood C newsletter, there's a little article in there you can read about how we do that. And if you don't have that hard copy of the newsletter that was mailed to each property, you can easily find it on our website. And my last comment on the snow operations, to the extent that vehicles can be taken off the street when heavy snowfall is predicted, why that makes it not only safer for our folks to clear the streets, but we're much more effective in doing so. So we'd ask for assistance with that. For a lot of companies and organizations, the holiday weeks are a period to kind of relax and maybe things slow down a bit, but for organizations like ours, where the fiscal year coincides with the calendar year, that's not really the case. And I just wanted to recognize Cindy and our finance department and really all the department heads for their work the last few weeks in closing out our finances for 2019. There's a lot of work that goes into doing that, and we've successfully completed it. And you all appropriated the funds for 2020 at our December meeting. We're putting the finishing touches now to the budget book, and that will be posted on our website within the next few weeks if citizens want to take a look at the 2020 budget. And with that, I'll end my comments.
Very good. Any questions for our city manager? Hearing none, we will now go to council comments. Councilmember Epley.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no comments tonight.
Councilmember Hilton.
No comments, Your Honor.
Councilmember Stevens.
I just want to congratulate Councilmember Epley, Byington, and Duncan again on being reelected. I'll speak on behalf of Ann that we've enjoyed working with you, and we're glad to have another 2 years minimum with you at least. And
Thank you.
Look forward to another great year in 2020.
The feeling is mutual.
Right.
Vice Mayor Byington.
No comment, Your Honor.
And I actually have no comments myself. Our next meeting is going to be at February 3rd, which is a Monday. And if you could all stay for about a minute or two so we could do our formal Community Improvement Corporation meeting. Our City Council meeting of January 6th is adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'd now like to call our Community Improvement Corporation Annual Trustee Meeting to order. Lori, could we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Duncan?
Yes,
Mr.
here.
Byington?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Hilton?
Here.
Mr. Epley?
Here.
Mr. Klopsch?
And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of our December 10, 2018 meeting? Councilmember Hilton?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, we have no business, so I move that we adjourn our annual trustee meeting and now call to order our annual organization meeting. And would you call the roll again, please, Lori?
Mr. Duncan?
Here.
Mr. Byington?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Mrs. Hilton?
Here.
Mr. Epley?
Here.
Mr. Klopsch?
Here. And I need a motion to approve the minutes of our December 10, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have no business, so that meeting is adjourned. You almost wonder why we have a Community Improvement Corporation, but someday we're going to need it. So thank you very much, and we are adjourned finally.
Great.